Do you often find yourself in situations where every time you have to meet somebody new, you begin to shrink, you begin to avoid, you begin to shut down, or your palms begin to sweat, and you shift your weight from one leg to the other or have other behavioral tics? This is social anxiety. Okay. Sometimes you want to not go into work because every time you go to work, you are overwhelmed. Your mind is flooded with the thoughts of what is everybody else thinking about me? How am I being perceived? How are they judging me? See, all of this is social anxiety, especially if we are trying to look for a life partner and I go on a date and I'm extremely nervous, because of which I cannot express how I feel to another person. If I'm looking for a job, it's the same thing. Interviews make me tremendously nervous. I'm always doubting myself and hesitating, and therefore not clearing the interviews. See, so social anxiety can hold us back in many ways. Let's today talk about social anxiety and see how we can rise above it. My name is Amit Pagidar, and you're watching Finding Awareness YouTube channel. Now, before we go into social anxiety, we have to understand what anxiety is. And I'll give a very simple definition. Okay, anxiety is being unable to solve problems at the rate at which they are being created. Very simple. Anxiety is the inability to solve problems at the rate at which they are being created. Notice, anxiety is not I'm able to solve the problems. Anxiety is I'm not able to solve the problems at the speed at which they are coming to me. For instance, if I ask you what is 2 plus 2, you'll say 4. If I ask you what is 6 plus 3, you'll say 9. But if I ask you what is 6 plus 3, 7 plus 8, 6 plus 10, 5 plus 3, 3 plus 4, see, now you begin to struggle. Now you begin to fall behind. And because you're falling behind, anxiety builds up. Anxiety is the fear of not being able to solve the problems at the rate at which they are being created. Therefore, we have to learn methods we can use to rise above social anxiety. We are not going to go into the deeper causes, which is various failures we have experienced in our life. Sometimes things just don't work out. Sometimes we have history where our parents or our siblings have constantly criticized us. We have been compared too much in childhood. There are traumatic memories and so on. So various causes exist which create a negative belief system, which in the end result in social anxiety and anxiety of other sorts. We are not going to go into those causes. Okay, there are too deep. They are too deep in order to find effective solutions. So we are going to look at this problem quite superficially, but you will see that the methods we are going to come up with, if you practice them, you will begin to experience a deeper connection with yourself. You will begin to express yourself freely and fearlessly when you are in the company of other people, and perhaps even enjoy the company of strangers. Okay, let's look at this. The first thing you want to do if you have social anxiety is begin to slow down and introduce pauses. What do I mean by that? Slowing down, as we saw before, slowing down creates space in your mind. Slowing down gives you control over the speed at which reality is unfolding. So if I get an email from my boss, I don't immediately reply to it. I introduce a pause. I introduce a space. I think, I gather my bearings, and then I begin to respond. If I'm in a social situation, somebody asks me a question, I don't rush to answer. I say, let me think for a second. And then I begin to answer. Introducing conscious, deliberate pauses gives you power over the situation. We are afraid of pausing. We are afraid of the silence which is created because silence is awkward. See, silence is only awkward when the situation creates it. When I'm struggling for answers, the answers are not coming, and then I'm caught up in this awkward silence. That's what we are afraid of. But when I deliberately introduce silence, when that silence is not a result of my awkwardness, when the silence is not a result of me not knowing the answer, but when that silence is the result of me choosing to introduce space, introduce silence that gives me control. Just the way I'm talking right now, I'm introducing silence. I'm introducing pauses in my speech, which give me more time to think, more time to r- rest, relax, and then say the appropriate thing. It allows my intuition to fill in the space and intuition to respond. So, the first thing is you have got to start really, really slowing down. Slowing down is the number one solution to solve all anxiety. It is also the number one solution to solve social anxiety. Make sense? The second thing you do is you embrace your insecurity. You don't go into social situations trying to hide your insecurity. You embrace it, which means if I'm in a social gathering, if I'm meeting new people, I just come out and say, hey, these events are not very comforting to me. I'm always someone who is afraid of being social. I am an introvert. The instant I reveal that, I say that about myself, what do other people want to do? They want to console me right away, right? If you are in a group setting and someone comes out and says, hey, I'm very anxious right now, what do you see? You put a hand on their back and say, hey, relax, nobody is judging you. We are all friendly, we are all welcoming people. So immediately, other people, someone steps in and makes the atmosphere more comforting for you. Remember, everyone has some degree of social anxiety. Okay, no matter how confident they appear on the outside, they always have social anxiety. They are just better than you at hiding it. Okay, so don't let their skill at hiding convince you that nobody else has social anxiety. In fact, people who are perfect, for example, actors and actresses, have an enormous amount of social anxiety because they always have to look perfect. They always have to dress a certain way, always have to have a blemish free face, etc. etc. So remember, the more you struggle, the more there is going to be social anxiety. So instead, just admit it, let it out in the open. Just say, I am socially anxious, and then you're over with it. Then the awkwardness is gone, and you begin to relax and rest more. Even if you're on a date, you tell your date, eh, going out on the date always brings up a lot of anxiety in me. And suddenly, saying that slowly and carefully makes you feel comfortable because, hey, now you can embrace it, and now you no longer have to hide the fact that you are socially anxious. In fact, the more you want to reveal your anxiety to the other people, the more confident you will begin to automatically, naturally feel. I have personally suffered from hyperhidrosis, okay, which means my palms sweat like crazy. And I have had this problem since childhood. But what do? I just embrace it. And the more I started embracing it, the more the problem went away. Eventually, I began to notice it less and less and less because I stopped caring about it and the problem disappeared. The third thing you want to do is you want to start trusting yourself, trusting your own judgments, not trusting the judgments, the opinions of other people. See, most of us are wired to compare ourselves. And because we compare ourselves with other people, we start negatively judging ourselves. Sometimes we will positively judge ourselves and say, I'm wearing better clothes than somebody, or I have a better car than somebody, or I have a bigger house than someone. But guess what? If you positively come out on top, that means by design, in some cases, you are going to be negative. In some cases, you are going to feel inferior if you bask in feeling superior to somebody. So just throw away all the comparison. Comparison makes you believe that other people's judgments have more power. Okay, because comparison is what I look at the world, I look at society, and I let society tell me who I am. To hell with all that. Okay, stop comparing yourself with others. Believe in your own judgment. Trust your own feelings. Close your eyes and connect with your sensations when you are having these conversations. Eye contact, honestly, is overrated. Don't just say, I want to look into somebody's eyes because that's what all the gurus are saying. You need more eye contact. You don't. Giving continuous eye contact makes you a sociopath. Okay. Sometimes you must look away. I will even close my eyes. I don't care. I just close my eyes and go into myself, feel my sensations, connect with my own body, my own feelings, and speak in the most honest, the most truthful, the most precise way I want to speak. Okay? You do the same, and you will realize the more you connect, the more you feel in tune with your sensations, with your feelings, the more you want to believe yourself, not believe the sounds, the sensations, and the judgments other people are creating. If you notice, this is also in sync with the idea of slowing down and reducing the number of problems I'm facing right now. See? So you want to start trusting yourself, trusting your own feelings, trusting your own sensations by letting go of all comparisons. What is the fourth thing you can do? The fourth and the most important thing you can do is learn to listen. Delegate whatever is going to happen next to your skill of listening, to your ability of listening. Learn to delegate to listening, which means what? Don't overwhelm yourself by saying, I must have the precise response. If in a social situation somebody asks me a question, I have to now generate an answer. That creates anxiety, that creates pressure. You say, I don't have to create an answer, I don't have to know anything. Everything will be done by my skill, my ability of listening. I delegate to listening. I rely on my listening skills to tell me what to say. Okay, how is that possible? Well, that's what listening does. I will link a deeper video on how to become a better listener after this video, but you really want to become good at listening, in which you listen with such intensity that the other person's voice is the only thing that is in your field of reality. If there are 10 people standing and one of them is speaking, there is only one person there, not 9 or 10 people. Make sense? I only listen to one person at one point in time. If you notice, your mind will want to interfere, your past will want to interfere. Oh, what are they thinking? Are they judging me? How am I appearing? Am I choosing the right words? These are more and more and more problems. These are more and more and more questions. And what did we look at? What did we say earlier? The more questions you have, the more you're going to struggle to find answers. So, listening says there is only one problem, there is only one question, and it is that person's voice. As they speak, I move with them. I don't wait to process what they are saying. I let my listening do the processing. How that works, we will have to look at deeper into listening. But become an excellent listener, not mediocre listener, but become an excellent listener, which means when you listen as if that person is the only thing there is in your entire life. Your ego is completely shut down. There is no mental voice when you listen. If you listen this way, then every single challenge this person creates appears to you in slow motion, appears to you slowly. And when the challenge appears slowly, it is quite simple to solve. Just like, what is 2 plus 2? Well, the answer is obvious. It's 4. You don't have to think, the answer just arises. Similarly, when you deeply listen, you won't have to process or think. The answer will arise. Then the next answer will arise, and the next answer will arise, and the next answer. And soon, you are flowing in a conversation. You are responding to everything that the social situation is creating for you. The same goes with interviews, the same goes with dates, the same goes with parties or acquaintances meeting you for the very first time. Social anxiety will completely dissolve if you follow these methods. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. Talk to you. See you in the next video. Thank you for being here.